Lateness is greatness, people. Welcome back to the studio, to the setting, to the hub, to the home, to the peak of propaganda. Chelsea, all you can eat Chelsea is back. Okay, this show, I'm gassed. I'm gassed because we haven't got a typical show today. We have a very bright young kid in Norway who's just doing incredible things, and the propaganda. I haven't seen a Chelsea fan really who can honestly say with their chest, hand on heart, that they don't want this kid. So we have to start there. We're obviously going to get into Barcelona's demise as well, and talk a little bit about another young starlet who's doing beautiful things on a football pitch, making a club that I hate so very much to the bottom of my heart. I hate that Barcelona club. After what they've done to us in the years gone by. We'll talk about that. And of course, then Southampton, we have the very important matters of dealing with Southampton in a respectful manner at the weekend. I want to be dismantling another team. But before we get into all of that, people, I got a night. I don't even know how I'm getting all these shirts from Dad. He's just switching them. I'm not even in the room half the time. Younes, how are you doing? Welcome.
I was asking the question, like, how many shirts do you actually have? This is nuts. Like, do you run the megastore?
bro, one of the shirts as well was do you know that it was like a orange and dark grey rude hoodie. Like 96, 90. I think it's 95, 96. Yeah,
somewhere there.
I was in awe, bro. I wasn't even
That's
born
a banging shirt.
Banging, bro. I might even rob that. Go for it. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, no, good to be back on. It's been a week since we even spoke properly. Loads has happened. I can't wait to get into this, especially about a certain club, as you just said. It's going to be sweet, but. Yeah, the propaganda has to start regarding a certain man. And I already started it. You know, I got in touch with the Leipzig admin on Twitter for Timo Werner. I started talking to the Leverkusen admin for Kai Havertz. Hey, those both happened. I had to jump onto the Dortmund admin yesterday. I had to do it. So
you're doing some madness with the Bundesliga.
Hopefully. They're very receptive. Do you know what I mean? If I try
they do respond.
If I try this with a Premier League club, I get blocked.
It's so true. It's so true. I think CFC Hale, shout out to him. Last time he patterned up the Leipzig admin for us, and we ended up getting Timo Werner out of it. The other side of the coin, Miz. How are you doing, sir? Okay, because this is big business this morning. Well, this is night for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I was talking to you yesterday, and then I was saying, you know, the show's tomorrow, and you're like, the show's tomorrow? No, it's Wednesday, and I'm like, no, for me, it's going to be Thursday.
Yeah.
The time difference is nuts, but. Yeah, man, I'm doing all right. I think I even saw some Italian jersey as well. There was a podcast, or there was a show that you did not that long ago, and you had some Italian jersey at the background. I mean, you must have, at least 100 different jerseys, bro?
It's not me, I swear. It's just Dad. He's just got a collection of jerseys upstairs. Mum's not too happy about the money that's being spent, but it's fine. I'm
How many do you reckon he has? He has?
A minimum 100, 200 shirts has to be.
Wow.
And I'm not in my usual studio.
Insane.
You know, like I said, I'm back at home. And when I go back to London, I'm not going to have this. So right now, we're just going through everything. What's everybody eating? I've only got sweets. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, mate.
I've got nothing today.
Orange.
You got nothing when we don't speak for a week, gentlemen. We haven't even spoken in DMs. No one prepped any breakfast or anything. We just came out here just wild.
I had dinner and I'm so full, bro.
Do you know what? Next week we're gonna have to actually have meals because we can't slack like this again.
Full on meal.
True.
Meal needed. Absolutely
true.
I'll be lying to you, people, if I didn't spend all night watching Haaland comps. and then fell asleep late and then didn't wake up early enough, which is why kickoff was delayed until 11:10, and that's why I only have sweets. That like I said, that might have been the case. That could be a reason. So bear that in mind. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it isn't, but it's highly likely. I definitely put money on it.
Don't take nutritional advice from Matisse. Don't start your breakfast. Don't start your day with sweets. It's not good for you.
So much Haaland comps though. No, I'm not even eating this. This is just on the side, just so I don't look like I'm just butchering the whole thing. But anyway, let's get straight into Haaland, because that is the main headline. That is what everybody's been talking about for weeks now in terms of transfer news. It's Haaland, and his release clause is not set to activate until 2022, I believe. Yeah. And obviously that's a fee of around 70 million, I heard from a good source that I have called twitter.com.
Yeah, lovely source.
So good source.
Number
strong
one
source. Strong sauce.
I'll call it tomato sauce.
And then on top of that as well, he's got a little agent that we all know and love called Mino Raiola. And obviously Mino Raiola is probably the most annoying agent, and someone's already said he's not coming. Look, don't do this to me, okay? I'm not trying to cry on stream. I'm not doing any of that. Let's let it play out. Let me do this for a second, and
let him have his moment. We'll
get real. All right, we'll get real later. But let me at least walk into the arena before you kick me out. This is Royal Rumble. You haven't even let me come in yet. So Erling Haaland is a player that is obviously managed by an agent that we all know and love, which is Mino Raiola, and that is the guy who literally was maybe the reason why we didn't get Lukaku. I'm highly likely the reason. He's the main component. Obviously, the agent fees are huge. Every time you have to negotiate a contract, those agent fees come up again. But in saying all that, it's Erling Haaland, and he's 20 years old, and his stats for this season are absolutely disgusting. All right,
yeah.
I don't say good. I don't say great. I say disgusting.
Have you got them in front of you?
I have, of course. Bro, I'm opening up tabs as I go along.
Mate, hit us, because I don't even know. I know he's been banging in goals, but I don't even know the stats. So,
here they are. 25 goals in 24 games. 15 goals in 16 games in the Bundesliga. 8 goals in 5 games in the Champions League. Pretty disgusting stuff, in my opinion.
Wow.
And then we obviously saw him last night against Sevilla. And yeah, he's not done yet. So what do you make of this, Younes? Because I think I don't like throwing around generational talent, right? I don't like it. I'm opposed to it, especially after I started giving Reece James and Hudson-Odoi the task. And I apologize. I was getting out of hand, got way too excited, and I just started dashing the word around. But is he a generational talent?
I think so. I think so, man. He's 19 and he's doing this. Like, that's unheard of. That is legit unheard of. That's the sort of thing we saw, Messi come into the limelight at 19. Some big players that have gone on to become the world's best, killing it at that sort of age. Haaland at 19 is a monster. That's just anything he touches turns into goals. That's the realistic approach. So I hate it as well. I hate using generational. I think it's overused, but then again, I think many terms are now overused. Obviously, because of social media, it's very reactionary. We've all been guilty to it. It's you're in the moment. You're like, oh my god, I got to say this. Boom, you say it. Then you realize you made a mistake. I think generational is thrown around a lot, but when you are truly looking at something generational, I think Haaland and Mbappe. Yes, they fit. They fit the word. And I can't wait to see what he's going to end up doing. In fact, he's 19 now, 24, 25 years old. Mate, you put those stats just now, like what, 25 and 24 games? Was it 24 and 25? Anyway, ridiculous. And it's won a game. That's, Ronaldo level. Yeah. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So it's mental. I truly believe, and I know we're going to get into this, but Chelsea have got to throw the bank at Dortmund.
The whole everything Roman
take the bank on a forklift and just throw it at Dortmund.
I strongly believe Roman has a red button in his yacht that he sails around in, and when it's a player like Haaland, Marina's just like, Yeah, just press the button. Just press the button.
Press the button.
Eye test matches says Haaland, a madman. He shoots from anywhere on range, on sight. I'm going to come to many things very soon in terms of, because there's so much to go into here. But I ask you the same question, Miz, and fair play to the mods. You guys are not playing about today, and I think that's fair. I know some of you guys, the mods are going to be a little bit stricter because we've had some very poor live chats in the last few days, and I'm not really interested anymore. Miz, generational talent, is it or isn't it?
Look, I mean, just like you guys, I don't like to dish around the word generational talent, but I think in this case, you can just see the players' ruthless attitude, whether it be on field, off the field. What we saw against Sevilla yesterday wasn't the first time we saw Haaland in that demeanor. The way he sort of, absolutely bullied Sevilla. We've seen him bully other teams as well. So for him to do these sort of things at the age of 19, and the way how cocky he was post-match, how he just came out and said, I saw Mbappe do what he did the night before, gave me a lot of motivation. You just know this boy is not messing around. He knows what's going on. He knows what the social media is talking about. He knows, what the crowd is talking about, and he wanted to put his name out there in the mix. And boy, did he do that. He definitely put his name in the mix. And as I said, we're obviously going to talk about Mbappe down the track, but they're two different type of players. And as Younes said, as much as Mbappe, for me, I think is a more all-rounded footballer, whereas I think Haaland is the kind of player that we need in our team right now in terms of that striker, that ruthless striker, the way he gives me that Diego Costa sort of feelings, but even with better finishing, far better aggressive, far devastating finishing. So you can imagine, what a sensational player he's going to be. So 100% generational, man.
Yeah, and ITS Merchant with a super chat here says, also, no way Haaland will flop like Kai Havertz. I mean, I'm going to strongly disagree again. And me and ITS Merchant, he's a regular, so we battle on this on an almost daily basis. Kai Havertz has not flopped. He hasn't even had a full season. So we're going to strongly disagree there, but we're not going to talk too much about Kai Havertz because he's just not relevant today, unfortunately. I'm not going to do any Kai prop because, again, it's all about Haaland. And that interview that you spoke about is so important because many times behind top ability, there isn't a top mentality. And people forget just how important a mentality plays in your ability, okay? Because look at the situation. You've got a player that is young. He's top of the world right now. And it's very easy for you to get lost in it and to get caught up in it and then to start losing focus and losing track. And we've seen it happen with many young players before. And that's perfectly normal because at that age, teenager to 20, that's kind of what's expected of you, to be honest. For you to have a mentality of a 25-year-old or a 30-year-old is not expected. Every time this guy speaks in the press conference, and I love it, his interviews are so entertaining. They're so boring sometimes. And he kind of makes a mug out of reporters by just giving one-word answers. And if your question isn't good, he'll make sure that you're aware that your question isn't good. And he will give you a not very good response to your not very good question. And it will become an awkward moment of silence. And he's not got a problem with it because it's not his problem. It's like, he doesn't need an interview. He can go home. What I love about the interview that you obviously mentioned last night is that it was very Ronaldo vibes of like Messi's around and I need to do what I need to do today. And they tried to push it like a Messi Ronaldo versus in terms of the reporter said, oh, what do you mean? Are you in rivalry with Mbappe? He said, no, of course not. It's just motivation. I've got the fuel. I said, you cheeky bastard. You know you're in rivalry. Don't try it. Don't play with me. And they're not, for me, I don't think they're going to be reaching the heights of Messi and Ronaldo in terms of showmanship. I think they can hit their level on goals and output, but maybe not showmanship, maybe not skill and, dancing through teams, especially Messi. I mean, no one has the ability of him out of those two, especially. But in terms of a rivalry, we may actually be sorted for the next decade in terms of football rivalry, and that is comforting because Messi and Ronaldo, that was worrying me coming towards the end, but also that is exciting. And if there is that potential rivalry, you need to bag one of those players, surely, isn't it, from that rivalry? I mean, Younes, how much would you pay? Because I've seen people tweet, and we've spoke about it off air, any number. Write whatever you want on the check. Blank check. But obviously, that's never the case. There's never a blank check, because if there was a blank check, we'd be risking liquidation for this kid, and I don't think we should do that. I don't think we should risk going back to the championship for him, because then he wouldn't come, and that would be counterproductive, and we don't want that. But how much would you pay for this star? Because I'd risk a lot. I'm not going to lie. I'll tell you later what I'd risk, but it's wow.
It'd be peak. I know what you'd risk. No, you know what? We have to take into consideration the fact that Haaland's contract doesn't have a release clause. His contract situation is weird because there's a situation, I think, where we can try and go for him, but that release clause, I think, doesn't trigger until next season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so next season, £70 million triggers in 2022. If they want to go for him this season, though, because obviously it's
going to have to be more.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and we need permission from the club to talk to the player. I mean, realistically, you'd look at Haaland and his age and what he's doing, and you'd think, you know what, that money we sold Eden Hazard with, throw it at Dortmund. Just straight up, just take the entire lot and just throw it. You'd be looking in excess of 100 million easy, because of the ability, again, his age, what it looks like he's going to do, the path he's going on, and as you just said, you know, I was worried as well in terms of Messi, Ronaldo ended their careers. Who's going to be the next guy, you know, or the next guys? It didn't look like there was anyone. There was talk of Neymar, and then that kind of folded because he went to PSG, and you know, you wonder, PSG, the French league, are you really going to get a world beater in the French league? But now Mbappe's come along, and you're like, can he reach his full potential? Well, clearly we know he can. Clearly we know that he's a flipping amazing player. And now there's the whole talk of him and Haaland being the next two guys. That is relieving because, you know, you want to see the next rivalry. But in terms of Chelsea getting Haaland, I think it's going to be in excess of 100 million easy. If I had to guess, if it's going to be this season and we try to get him, you're looking 120, 130 million perhaps. I'd say more towards 130 if I'm having to guess. But I do reckon there's a chance that Chelsea could hold off, try and negotiate, hold off for the season after. And I know that's been reported, but if that means saving quite a lot and triggering the release clause and Haaland's cool with it, I think Chelsea could go down that route. So we'll see. We'll see.
I think the way that they could bring this down is many ways. Dortmund, obviously, we need them to finish outside the Champions League. That helps big time because they'll need money, potentially. Also, I do think it will be in excess of 120 million plus minimum because if you're looking at what Dembele went for, what Coutinho went for, all these players, it was a lot, and they are not anywhere near, you know, in terms of, I'm not talking about potential because Dembele had a lot of potential, but mentality-wise, you know he's going to the top. It's almost bulletproof, this. So, but I think if Chelsea want to get this down, and maybe Chelsea fans won't want to hear this, but to guarantee the deal, and obviously you're going to be fighting with the likes of Man City anyway, not the Spanish clubs, because this season I don't think the Spanish
Real Madrid as well, probably.
Yeah, I think Real Madrid might not come into play this summer just because of the restrictions of the pandemic and the financial situations in Spain. I don't think there's any Spanish team right now, money-wise, that are good, that could enter this type of race.
Yeah.
From what I hear in Spain. And then France is definitely not great, apart from PSG, who are always around. But you might have to do a deal where you pay for him and you loan him back for a season. I don't know. You might have to do something like that. You might have to do a Pulisic type deal if you want to get the numbers down, or you're going to have to do installments or something, because obviously I don't think the club are going to shell out just straight up 150 flat rate. And I think it might have to be reaching that type of number in add-ons to get him. But Miz, I mean, would you sell your soul for this guy?
You know what, Matisse? I don't think money is ever the issue for Roman. Roman, as I said to you guys a long time ago, I think in this show as well, that he probably spends that kind of money for dinner. Do you know what I mean? Like he's got that money available in his back pocket. So money is not the issue. I think the money comes into play because of the financial fair play situation. Because if you're going to dish out that level of money, you got to make sure that your accounts balance up, that you're not in the loss. And that's why I think, guys, Thomas Tuchel has been given the task to play a lot of fringe players to up their market value, because that's going to help to sort of offset some of this cost. So, we're seeing players like Kepa getting an opportunity. We're seeing players like Alonso getting an opportunity lately. We're seeing players like Rudiger, Jorginho getting an opportunity. So I think at the end of the day, Haaland will, he may cost, let's say, about, I don't know, God knows, 120 million, 130 million, maybe even 150 million. But if we can then offload the likes of Rudiger, maybe Jorginho next summer as well, Alonso, we could potentially look at a net spend of maybe, I don't know, maybe somewhere around 75 million. So, I think it's quite possible, man. But we do need to get him before the buyout clause, because once that happens, I don't think we have we are in the front runners anymore, because as you said, there are other clubs like City and maybe Real Madrid will come down the track. So we need to move this summer before all the other clubs can sort of do anything besides City. As you said, Real Madrid probably not going to come into play because of the money factor, but City are probably the biggest factors along with us. So we need to make sure this summer, there's talks about getting a centre back and a striker. We need to make it happen. 100% we need to make it happen.
Yeah, because I think City, obviously, Aguero injury prone now, big time. Gabriel Jesus is not really world class at all. So they're going to be looking for a striker. And if you leave it until next summer with that release clause, every big club, you'd assume the pandemic is well past us by then financially. Everybody will just bid that. They'll just trigger the release clause, and then he'll be speaking to like 5 or 6, 7 different clubs at one time. Like Liverpool will probably just bid, Man City, Chelsea, Man United. That's England covered. Because Tottenham and Arsenal wouldn't even. They wouldn't. Why would they waste their time? Why? It's like approaching a chick that you just can't obtain. Like, don't bother. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's clearly don't waste any time. Let's not get shot down. So that's Arsenal and Tottenham. PSG, Bayern.
They'll be going for Callum Wilson and all of that.
Spurs getting Andy Carroll.
Don't rule it out, man. Don't rule it out. They need a second striker.
With Man City as well, we got to be careful because even for Haaland, there would be an emotional connection there. You have to remember his dad played for Man City. So I do think that if, in terms of his career and any advice that he might be receiving from people around him, his dad included, Man City are not the club anymore that they once were. Like at the time of his dad, Man City were fighting for staying above relegation and being mid-table. That was the time where, his dad played for Man City. Now, as you've said, if Aguero steps out of the way and they need a striker, how fitting would that be? How fitting would that be to go to Man City once they've hit another level when you're following your dad's footsteps, and getting the same money, playing in the same league, doing all of that you would get at Chelsea regardless. So it's very, very, tight. We need to act quick. We need to act very quick and get there ahead of City. Yeah.
The small thing about City is that I think they're interested in Messi as well. Messi, I think this is it. It's over. I reckon with Barcelona.
I think he might go to PSG. I think he might go to PSG.
Why would he fancy PSG though?
I think there's that. I think there's a lot that Neymar's doing.
And also, just to add to that as well, how often do we see a Messi, an R9, a Ronaldinho, these type of South American players, the good ones, rarely come to us in the Premier League because the weather, the culture is too different for them, etc., etc. I think it's a difficult one because I'd love to see him at Man City and in the Premier League just from a neutral point of view. And also, he's only going to be maybe at the top for 2-3 years max, and he's going to continue to lessen his influence than he was at his peak. And Haaland is going to be there for the next decade. Obviously, he might move on, but you've got more longevity in that signing. So I wouldn't mind taking that side of the plea deal, of course. And we couldn't afford Messi's wages anyway, so I'd rather not get involved. But there is a chance that he does go to PSG as well, just because, again, that what I spoke about there. How often did you see your Kakas? You know, all of these, they didn't come here. They just didn't. And it might be just, I don't know if they have a group chat on WhatsApp where they're just like, yo, don't go over there. Rubinho went there and he let everybody know that it's cold, it rained, it's wind, it's not great.
But Matisse, do you reckon the Guardiola reunion with Messi,
Yeah.
they do fancy each other a lot.
Yeah. That could play a massive part. So it's very touch and go with that one. I don't know. Because the thing is with Man City is I don't think they want to spend their money, and when I mean money, I mean wages, unwisely in terms of, yes, it's Messi, but you know that is a massive wage to deal with. And they're about to win the league by a canter. So they don't need Messi to win the Premier League. That's evident. They'll have to make a decision as whether they feel like they need Messi to make that final hurdle of winning the Champions League. That's why, if you're Man City, that's why you buy Messi, is to win the Champions League. And if you don't win the Champions League with Messi, you've basically wasted your money, because you're winning the Premier League 3 in the last 4 years anyway, apparently. Well, I think. Big up the chat as well. Bambo's in here. We got George. We got Extreme HD. We got Breezy, iTest Merchant, Saul, all the man them in the chat. Nicholas, big up all of you guys. And this is what I'm saying. Chat's sick now, because now I can go through it and we're going to start getting through to some questions. It's not too clunked and crowded with fake accounts. I did make all the YouTubers mods because we had a lot of fake accounts and it was just getting mad. Younes, you may even have one as well. I don't know how people are going through their day making fake accounts of other YouTubers, and when they get blocked, then they make another one, and then I'm just like, you're crazy. But we seem to have the situation taken care of today. I'm looking at that first goal for Dortmund, right? Haaland is very much involved in the build-up. A lot of people, you know, he's stepping past 1-2 players on the right-hand side, good ball control, lays it off, and then this is what I love about Erling Haaland, the work rate to get into the box. Yes, the ball doesn't end up with him. Yes, they take the finish and it goes into the top corner. But the aspects of his game that are very underrated is that he does get involved in the build-up. Of course, he always has room to improve. But for his age, 20 years old, he's going to improve. And then second of that as well, what we want in our team is work rate, is pressing, is 100% commitment throughout the game. He's not a kid that walks around the pitch with an ego. I think if Erling Haaland had a Zlatan-type influence on the pitch in terms of the fact that he was walking around and he had that kind of egotistical vibe on the pitch, I don't think I would be as keen. The fact that he is a workhorse and he presses and he runs and he's in people's faces and we've seen that for the goals, that is what just pushes me to him even more. And I wanna segue into Mbappe and the Haaland versus Mbappe debate and the polls that Dan McCarthy blessed us on the timeline with on Twitter. Back-to-back polls, people. Back-to-back polls on Twitter.
2 different winners.
Yeah, 2 different winners. And it just goes to show, you know, Twitter is a very reactionary platform. Chelsea fan base is very reactionary. And again, I'm using this really to defend myself. When you comment on other fans being reactionary, just remember, those polls are right there, yeah? So clearly the majority of the fan base can be very reactionary. But it went from Mbappe we should sign to Erling Haaland. I gave the same answer twice because I kind of just knew what I wanted. And we had this debate off air. And I feel like we're all going to agree on this, but it's good to talk it out anyway. And by the way, I want to get the thoughts in the chat as well in terms of this one, because it's an interesting one. And I want to know, whoever you support, put the club that you support and then put who you would take, Haaland or Mbappe. Before I get into it, a quick super chat here from Sini. Haaland or Mbappe? Mbappe might be leaving PSG. So, hey, listen, that's great timing. Thank you for the super chat. We're literally just getting into that. So that was just luck, coincidence, as they say. So put in the chat who you support and then just a dash who you would take, Mbappe or Haaland. And then I'll start going through it. But this was my argument, and then we'll go to the boys as well. And I'm pretty sure we're all going to agree because we spoke about offline and we kind of already know. But hey, we're just running it. Mbappe, for me, is the better player. He's got the dribbling. He's obviously quicker, which always helps. And I just feel like he is just overall, as a footballer, the better and more entertaining and can fit into more roles. Left wing, right wing, up front, he can do it cool, more versatile. But Haaland is the true old-fashioned number 9, that Chelsea need. So as a Chelsea perspective, and it really depends on your club. So no, there's no right or wrong answer. They're both, if we're going to agree they're both generational talents, they're both going into the tippity top, then either answer is fantastic. It's just depending on what club you support in the chat, because we have some rival fans with us, and who do you need more? So for Chelsea, for me, we need Haaland because we need an out-and-out number 9. We need goals in the team. And his goal rate is ridiculous. It's just a bit better than Mbappe's this season, but I think he's played more minutes. His fitness levels are ridiculous as well. He doesn't get really injured, which is obviously young, but that's a great sign. And Chelsea need a potent penalty box merchant. And by the way, of course, he can strike them from outside, but we need someone who's going to put the ball in the back of the net. We've got creators. We've got, Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi and creators. We've got Ziyech. We've got Kai Havertz. We've even got Timo Werner, who will do maybe the running off a target man, which is maybe what you pair up Mbappe with, off a target man. Someone that, I've always said that I felt like PSG would be perfect for Giroud if he left, because he would vacuum the ball in and Neymar would play it into Giroud, Mbappe would play it into Giroud, and they would play it off of him and run him beyond. And I feel like if you have a target man, then you go with Mbappe, but we don't have that. So I'd go with Haaland. What would you go with, Miz, as your guy?
Yeah, look, as you said, before we went live, we were sort of talking about this, and I have to agree with you. When you look at the profile of our team, and this is no comparison, so guys, calm down when I say this. Timo Werner is someone who could possibly do what Mbappe is doing for PSG. They're definitely not the same player. Mbappe is miles ahead, but I'm saying that Timo Werner is possibly someone who can play in the inside forward, do exactly what Mbappe does, and hence, as much as I would love Mbappe instead of, let's say, someone like Timo Werner, and this is no disrespect to Timo Werner, but we probably don't need that. We do need that striker. If you see our striker sort of options in the sense of Giroud and Tammy Abraham, Haaland is, if you think about the days of Didier Drogba and Diego Costa, and there were special days, there were monumental days for us. Those strikers were brilliant. Haaland, I feel, is a combination of those two plus more. Do you know what I mean? He's probably got, all the technical abilities as Drogba had. He's probably got the aggression as Diego Costa had. And he's got the ruthlessness as both of those players. But I think with Haaland, the ruthlessness has gone to a different level. Like this guy, he scored a goal the other day in Bundesliga and he wanted to fight with opposition. He's not interested about celebrating. He goes up to the player and he wants to fight. And I'm like, dude, you just scored a goal, go and celebrate. And he wanted to chop someone's head off because, I don't know, some other player said something to him and he couldn't care less about that goal. He just wanted to beat that guy up. So I like that attitude. That's the kind of attitude. Imagine against Spurs when you score and he just runs up to, let's say, Eric Dyer or someone and he just wants to clothesline him. I would love to see that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You do well supporting Burnley in that case. Proper Sean Dyche Brexit football. Knock people.
Absolutely. So yeah, for me, Haaland, he has that attitude and boy, how awesome everyone post-match. If he comes to Chelsea, no one's going to be doing previews. They're going to be waiting to hear what Haaland has to say, and then all the YouTube content makers can do their job. They all will be watching him first, see exactly what he has to say post-match, everything. So he's a character. And as you said, Matisse, that, having ability just on its own is not enough anymore in this day and age. You need that mentality, and Haaland has it in abundance, man. So for us, it has to. In my perspective, it's Haaland, man. We don't have that character in our team.
Yeah, he's got shades of like Mason Mount work rate up front, and then Harry Kane clinical finishing, and then Zlatan type confidence, and then potentially, Didier Drogba type leadership on a pitch, because you don't have to speak always when you lead a team. He looks like he leads his team from the front. He is a player that, yes, he starts to press off the ball and he will be, doing his job in terms of clinical. You can't go against that, but his mentality and the way that he just holds himself. Like, he's one of them guys that in the tunnel that you look at and you're like, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
exactly.
Like, there's very few players that have that. You either have that or you don't. I remember when, and he's nothing like this player, but Thierry Henry, black gloves, Emirates, you know, Burgundy, O2 shirt.
Hybrid.
He is by far, for me, the best striker Premier League's ever seen, Thierry Henry. That's without points.
Henry was unbelievable.
I was watching some of his comps last night. Again, this is why I'm eating sweets for breakfast. These are the problems I fix. When you look at Thierry Henry, and I saw John Terry's interview on him as well, he was the one defender he was scared of. And it's not just what he's doing on the pitch. It's when you look at him and you're like, damn it, I don't think I can handle him. Like, he has just got that. He's got that in the tunnel. And when Haaland looks at you, there's a certain thing where it's like, I don't know about that one. Like, his stature, he doesn't move like as if he should be good at football. He's not elegant. He does move a little bit like Lukaku when he's running, but it's just a machine that's coming at you. It's not a fridge like Harry Maguire. It's a machine. Like, it's just like coming up against some sort of it's
robust,
robotic machine. Yeah, it's like Robot Wars, bro, and you can't win that. Younes, what do you think?
Shout out to those that watched Robot Wars back in the day. Haaland, you said it perfect. I support Wycombe Wanderers. Quality, mate. You take both of them if you could. No, honestly, if we're answering the original question, I mean, you'd have either of them. You'd have Haaland or Mbappe or both. I'd love to have both, but that's not going to happen. If I had to choose just for Chelsea Football Club, you know, as its own entity, you'd have to pick Haaland because we need that striker. We're not lacking in terms of a player that can take the ball and create and do something in terms of helping the team out. I think that's not necessarily what we need. As you said, we already have players that can do that, but we need a number 9 or a striker that can come in and bang in goals, contribute, assist, and help Timo Werner, for example, work alongside him. Someone that's going to come in and just, you know, score goals. And I think Haaland will do that. But the thing with Haaland, and someone's put it in the chat perfectly here, he's a Terminator. Legit. He is, despite his young age, I don't want to say he is complete, but if you're looking at a player that's close to the word, that's Haaland. I mean, he's got everything. He can score. His accuracy is unbelievable. He can combine. He can assist. He can run in behind defenders. He can take defenders on. He can come deep. He can stay up top. He's physical. The guy's a tank. He's intimidating. You look at him and you think, oh, crap, I'm in trouble. He's got confidence. He oozes self-belief. He believes in himself. He doesn't cast any doubt on himself. He inflicts fear on opponents. What more do you want? He's complete. Like, there's not more that I can say in terms of what he's got. I can't think of one thing that he's lacking. You know, there's always strikers and players that you look at and you think, he's good, he's got this, and this, but he's lacking this or he's lacking this. I look at Haaland and I think, he's got it all. The only thing that he can do now is just take what he's got and just get even better, which would be scary because that would mean he's scoring hat-tricks every weekend. Yeah. So, honestly, I'd easily say Haaland. And the one thing, as I've said, I love about Haaland is that despite his young age, he's already looking like a leader. He's powerful, and as you said, his stature isn't of one that you look at and you think, he's elegant or he's fast because he's so big. But my goodness, when he starts running, he's like a horse. You can't stop him. You can't stop him. And despite him having that really fast acceleration and really fast speed, he's massive. So you haven't got a chance unless you're, John Terry reincarnated. You haven't got a chance of winning the ball with him. If he shields it, good luck. And if he's coming up against you, again, good luck. And he's got that look in his eyes where he just knows if he looks at you, you're gonna be doubtful in yourself. And it's just it's unreal. We haven't seen a player like that in ages, and I think it's very old school, but it's very refreshing to see. I love it. So I'd easily pick Haaland ahead of Mbappe, straight up. Not to take anything away from Mbappe, of course.
The other thing that I want to just add as well, you look at our squad now. I don't know how many you can say that can just control and take over a match single-handedly and win the match for us. We lack that type of a player now. We had Eden Hazard previously where he would single-handedly win the match for us. And you just knew, all you had to do was just let Eden just do his thing and he'll win the match. I think Haaland and Mbappe, obviously we're going to touch on Mbappe, but Haaland for me is one of those players, man. He can just take the game like the way he did against Sevilla. He pretty much just saw the Sevilla. He got so unhappy when Sevilla scored first. And he just took the game up on himself and he said, you know what? I don't care what the team does. I'm just going to take over and I'm just going to go and bulldoze this opposition and literally just win the game by myself. And that's exactly what he did, man.
He legit just went, hold my Powerade. I'm gonna take this game now, right? I'll just roll the sleeves up. I'm gonna do this myself, lads.
Literally, and really to wrap up on the Haaland part of the show is I'm gonna go through the super chat here. Wendell says Mbappe is the better player, more complete. Haaland is better for Chelsea right now, but even would suffer a drop off in production in the Premier League. Interesting. It's interesting because we haven't really seen anyone really in the Premier League put up those type of numbers. Even I think Ronaldo maybe done it for 1 year just before he left to Real Madrid. Suarez had a very, very good year here as well. I'm not sure on his exact numbers. So I think it can be done in the Premier League. I think we overestimate Premier League defenses. Premier League defenses can be wild. It's maybe not as wild as the Bundesliga on a consistent basis in terms of the high line and just really, it looks like freedom defending at times where it's just like there's no numbers back there. Even for one of the Sevilla goals, they got taken apart in transition and there was no defenders. Just what I'm saying. So I do feel like maybe they're a little bit more ballsy in the way that they defend with maybe more 1v1 defending and whatnot, and actually not a numbers game. But we've seen over the years, there is defenses to be got out in the Premier League. I've seen some shambolic defending in the Premier League as well. So Salah, Mohamed Salah, great point there. He definitely had a big season, 33 goals, you guys are saying in the chat. So that's another
Vardy goes around scoring goals every season. I
don't think he's ever put up them type of numbers, but
no, he came close.
He came close. So Aubameyang's always very, very lethal, usually in this league. So there is room for a striker that's not your Aguero type, but can get a lot of goals in this league. Vardy, Aubameyang. So that's why I have hope for Timo Werner, for instance. Ronaldo 31, Suarez 31, Kane 30, Salah 32, 33. Different results we're getting there. But yeah, so good stuff there, guys. I really
it comes down to ruthlessness as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Haaland is ruthless, man. Like you can just, as I've said, he just has this confidence in himself that he knows he's going to get a job done, and then he actually does it. It's not like someone that has it and then they begin to lose it because they're not performing. He's just always performing. He doesn't stop. So if you have that in the Premier League, I really think that that could be the deciding factor. Absolutely,
100%. And for me, when it comes to this debate, I think most of the chat agree with us. Mbappe is the better player, but Haaland is what Chelsea needs. And I would actually be very entertained if both of them came to the Premier League and Man City said to themselves, you know what, we're going to invest in the future, because that would make sense if they was to invest in the future Messi versus Ronaldo rivalry. They get Mbappe because I feel like that would still suit their team. They don't need maybe a physical striker in the way that they play. They've had Aguero, Gabriel Jesus. They're a little bit more set up for a more petite striker. He's got great close control, and City play in a way where their players interchange. You can find their midfielder like Gundogan popping up in a striker position. So there's a little bit more, freedom in terms of their movement, coached under Pep, for an Mbappe to not have to play a focal role. And Haaland at Chelsea. Can you imagine Haaland and Mbappe in the Premier League going head to head for 5, 6, 7 years, and then maybe when Barcelona and Real Madrid regain the cycle and come back, because they will, then they go and we've had that would be brilliant. That would be brilliant. So moving on, because I'm not gonna lie, I could talk about those two all day, but we have to move on to Chelsea, well, this was Chelsea Matters. Don't kid yourself. This wasn't a Haaland show. This was a Chelsea transfer news show. And we focused on one target that we love so dearly. And we are doing propaganda. And if Roman sees this, we've done our job. But let's talk about...
Imagine Roman's watching All You Can Eat. Oh, my days.
Can you imagine it taking notes? Like, okay, they like this.
11 a.m. Thursday morning. Gotta watch All You Can Eat, Marina. Like Marina calls Marina. It's no time. Right now, it's Matisse time.
He's just like, do you know what? Scott the Scout hasn't been doing it for me recently. I'm going to focus on an analysis on YouTube. And this was good. You guys made some good points. We'll take this back to the office. Let's look ahead to Southampton. We got a big game on Saturday, lunchtime kickoff. I'll obviously do my proper full preview tomorrow. But Man City have basically won the league. Yeah, let's get out. And great. By the way, I'm really happy that Man City are taking points. I would love nothing more for Man City to just keep taking points off every team challenger. I don't care if it's Everton, Leicester, West Ham, Man United, everybody. Just dismantle and destroy
them all.
Everyone.
Them all.
That is brilliant. So again, that win helps us last night of Man City beating Everton 3-1. The title is as good as gone. 10 points clear. And they're the only team. Conrad has been doing this a while. So let me not air him one more. Spud me, G. 3-point collectors in the building. Manchester City Football Club and also Chelsea. We're on a little bit of a winning run as well. Actually, let me get our winning run up, which is a thing of beauty, by the way. I'm very
4 Premier League wins.
4 Premier League wins in a row, people. We're back. I'm joking.
5? Is it 5?
5 in all comps.
5 in all comps.
1 draw, no losses.
We had to deal with that absolutely abysmal game against Barnsley, but we moved very aggressively into the distance. I'm not even going to talk about that game. But we have Southampton coming up. This is the first time, potentially, and it's interesting this because Southampton are still on a horrid run of form. I think they've had 6 defeats in a row, if I'm
6 defeats in a row,
Six. Bro, you wouldn't think it because Southampton were doing so well. This is why they are where they are. They're now down to 13th in the table. They were doing so well. They were very close to where Aston Villa currently are.
Since they beat Liverpool.
Yeah, they were in their 8th, 7th, 6th positions. They were doing very well. And suddenly everything's gone tits up for Southampton. 6 defeats on the trot. And a pessimistic Chelsea fan may say, well, it's our turn to
Charity FC.
Yes, Charity FCFC. Yes. But I'm not going to lie. Under Tuchel, I don't get that feeling. I don't get that charitable feeling. I get that we're not making any donations feeling. We're being stingy feeling. We're going to dismantle you two feeling.
We're close. We're close.
So I'm very confident, and as well I should be. But they will be the first time we come up against a team that don't. I mean, really, if they're losing 6 games on the trot, they should be setting up in a low block. Let's be real. But they might be the first team. A lot of people are saying Robin Hood FC. They might possess the first team that don't just sit back and actually try and come at us. But I mean, how confident are you for the game, Younes? How do you feel it's going to turn out? Obviously, full previews obviously tomorrow. But how are you feeling going into it?
I'm confident. We've we've been on good form. We're slowly but surely fixing the issues we've had in our team, and yes, it's nice to see that we're winning. That game against Newcastle was great. You could say second half maybe we dipped off a little bit, but compared to the first half, but still we had complete control, and that's the most important thing. I think against Southampton, I hopefully see a comfortable win, fingers crossed. But this is the last game before we go off and play against Atletico.
Yeah.
So for me, this has to be a big win. This has to be a win where it gets full confidence into the lads before they jet off to Bucharest. And this is why I'm a 1-0. Yes, it's nice we win, but for me, that wouldn't sit well with me just in terms of the context of what we've got coming up. I think to go and beat Atletico or to get a good result, you need to be at the top of your game, and all the players need to have that. Yeah, you know what? We're playing fantastic. We're going to go there and get a result. And that only comes, I think, from a big win against Southampton. So we can't be showing them too much respect, as far as I'm concerned. We know they're a good team. Don't get it twisted. Their manager's a good manager. But the fact that they're on bad form, as you said, Charity FC and all that, nah. shut shop. We're not open for giving donations. Government haven't provided us any grants. We're done. We're not handing out any more charity to anybody. We're finished. Okay, so that's to the side now. I think it's crucial we go to Southampton and we don't take any prisoners. We be absolutely ruthless, kill the game early, and just try and get as many goals as possible. That way we go to Bucharest, hopefully fired up and ready to take on Atletico, who, dropped points and drew against Levante, if I'm not mistaken. So it's good timing. But Southampton, hopefully we should have enough to get a good result against them. I'm expecting a win.
Do you know what? I couldn't agree with you more. Before we go to Miz, this we've had a whole week to prepare.
Yeah.
No games since Newcastle, which was what was it on Sunday?
It was on, I think it was Sunday.
Monday.
Monday. Yeah, it was a Monday kickoff. Disgusting. I don't like those Monday kickoffs at all. I hate those. But
perfect for us, though. Perfect for me.
Good morning. So we've had enough time to prepare for that. You've had nearly a full week's training. We've been under Tuchel for a good few solid weeks now. We've had a couple stints to work with them in training. Timo Werner's come out and said how he feels. He's getting. He's taken a few digs maybe at Lampard. But he said that he feels. Yeah, he did. Let's not sugarcoat. Let's not sugarcoat on this show. He is taking.
Matisse, he said, we were somewhere but nowhere. That's what he said.
Wow.
And I know we're going to talk about this, Matisse, but I just want to quickly say to the people, I've seen a lot of people, not a lot. I've seen a certain section that are still not giving the rightful praise that Tuchel deserves here. And they keep on saying it's the teams that we should be beating. And who is to say if Frank was still here that we wouldn't be winning these games? Yeah. Don't kid yourself. Honestly, we weren't. Kid yourself.
Yeah. No. Sorry to interrupt. The truth of that matter is we were not. we were not playing well. We were not getting the results needed. That's just the truth.
George says, "How do you let someone with a bust up lip say that to you?" Well, do you know what it is? Yeah, Timo's ballsy for that, and I'll tell you why. Because he better deliver now, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. But you see, if the ground was open. Any little thing, and luckily that section of the supporters is not really on twitter.com too often checking up the news and whatnot on the quotes. But I wouldn't say that, the Stamford Bridge atmosphere is more of an older crowd because the tickets are very expensive and they don't care about young people like me who want to live the dream. But that's fair enough. I'm not going to tear up. We move on. They're not the most tech savvy, so they're not on Twitter. A lot of them. They're still older ones on Twitter. But the general Twitter population seems to be young, obviously, or 30s or whatever. So he's lucky that the ground isn't open because any little thing could trigger these fans. And I'm telling you, you could get away with talking like that to Villas-Boas and even Jose Mourinho. But I'm not gonna lie, if you're a player and you've got anything bad to say about Frank, and I'm going to be making Son of Chelsea a mod, so very soon to just check if that's the real one, but we're going to assume it is. Big up yourself. Any little thing could set them off, and it could be lights out. Do you know what I'm saying? He has to deliver now because I like Timo Werner, but one thing I will say is that it's not just Frank's fault as to why he hasn't been performing this season. When your first touch is bouncing off of your foot and ending up in space and in other stratospheres, you can't be talking. You know what I'm saying? When you're missing big opportunities, open goals borderline against certain teams, you can't be talking. I know you've just got your goal, and hats off to you. I'm very happy with that. Very impressed. Well done. I hope that leads into some sort of form. You're definitely playing in your stronger position now, which is the left forward second striker. We've spoken about it all season on this channel. He's not a striker. He's not a winger. He is a hybrid. He needs to play tucked in, off someone, and make those runs into the channels. And it's no surprise to me that he's played there under Tuchel. Yes, Tuchel's moved him up front, and that's because maybe he's not particularly happy with the efficiency and the goal scoring machines that we have up front. They're not really machines, let's be real. And that's maybe where the Haaland links come from. If you see Haaland, that's where Timo Werner does drop off into that role that you're seeing him now. Left forward, second striker, these type of things. However, don't tell me because you had to move 10 yards or 20 yards to the left, or you had to move 10 yards or 20 yards to the forward, you couldn't get a first touch sorted. You couldn't finish opportunities that, regardless of what position, you should be tucking in. So take some responsibility. Let's not just play the blame game. You wasn't good enough also. And I know a lot of people are bringing up his stats, and I love it. Listen, I love this on this new generation of goals and assists. You can make anything look beautiful with goals and assists these days. This fan base kill me sometimes. I'm going to go on a rant. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Clip it up. Do whatever you want. This is it.
Right, Miz, get ready, mate. Lean back.
I don't do it often, but I've got that feeling inside me burning, and I have to let it out. This fan base are so jarring when it comes to this hypocritical bullshit when it comes to goals and assists. How are you making goals and assists sound so good on the timeline? You love to do it, and I love it. I get it. It's propaganda and it sells, and bang, you ship it out. You know, standard shipping, $2.99, send it off, and out it goes down the drain, and it looks beautiful. But don't kid yourselves. We have had times where Timo Werner has not been doing well. Don't kid yourselves with this goals and assists. How have you managed now for a striker to clump goals and assists together to make it bigger than it is? Because that's what you do. If you have a Salah, who are Suarez, or Thierry Henry, you didn't have to lob goals and assists together because the goals just did the job, didn't it? As a striker, he was brought here to score goals. I understand he's won penalties. He's been very good in that regard. And like I said, he's been decent this season. But don't make it look like it's better than it is, because he's been good in the last few weeks. But we know some of those assists have come at the end of games that he's not been playing well, but he's got the assist at the end of the game. And we know some of those goals have come against opposition where it's like, who are they? Morecambe, Coleslaw. These type of oppositions, you know, we haven't had a good
Coleslaw.
Coleslaw is Krasnodar. You'll get to know. There's a reason why we have a terrible record against the top 8 this season. It's because we're not getting the goals against the bigger teams. We're stat padding against Luton and Morecambe and all these man them. Go and talk to Luton and Morecambe and them man there. You know what I'm saying? That's being what it is. So let's not get it twisted. And like I said, praise him, but don't start doing player of the season shouts, because I've seen it already. And I know some people are saying, if he continues in this vein, cool. If, buts and maybes, I don't deal with that right now. I'm doing absolutes. And absolutes mean what you've done so far. Let's calm down now. Let's not overreact and start saying he's the best thing since sliced bread. No. He's been good. He's been very good recently. Not good, very good. Last few weeks, since Tuchel's come in, very good. I'm loving the work rate. I'm loving the commitment and not letting your head go down. I'm loving the mentality, which we've always praised. I'm loving the fact that he's now scored, and I'm loving the fact that he's setting people up and he's winning penalties as well. That Mason Mount assist against Sheffield United was great. But let's not make it like as if the whole season now, because we've got our goals and assists together, he's been great. He hasn't been. He hasn't been. And this is where you have to watch the game and not just the stats. Because if you watch the games, he hasn't been great. And I'm not even blaming it on him. I've spoken about it already. He's not been playing in his position. It's been a joint effort of Lampard and Werner where it's not been ticking. So everybody has to take responsibility. But there's a reason why we speak highly of Didier Drogba, because it's not just about the stats, because he did turn up in the big games. And I'm not making the comparison. I'm just saying you need to hold similar energy, right? Drogba is always given this title of don't disrespect him because of what he did in the big games. It's more than just the stats. Watch the game. So let's make sure we watch the game. And Timo Werner's first touch still needs to improve, and he still needs to be a better finisher in terms of his conversion. He's still wasting too many chances. So I just want us to, and it's not popular what I've just done, because right now I should be high. I should be smoking. I should be with Snoop. I should be on the train. And I'm on the train. And like I said, I want him to do well. But we need to put it into perspective. You can get less goals and assists and be better this season than he has been. And he still needs to keep kicking on. We haven't reached the pinnacle of Timo Werner. Make sure that you remember just how good this guy can be. It's better than this. So let's not overdo it. And let's not set him up to fail with the other fan bases. I don't really care what they say, but let's sometimes just put the handbrake on and just let it go. You know what I'm saying? Let him do his thing. We don't need to overdo it. I think he's been brilliant. We don't need to overdo it. he did take responsibility for the missed chances, 100%. But again, when you're calling out former managers, for me, you got to be the shit, bro. You got to be like completely not to blame, and I can't say that with him. Younes, what do you make of the comments that have gone out?
Wow. That's pretty much it. The way that you went on a rant, but flipping out. Now you know what? You had to drop it. You had to drop it. I do think. I completely agree. I think that with Timo Werner, we honestly now need to just look at the fact that hey, he's doing better. He's getting better. He's nowhere near the finished article yet. Absolutely, he's not. Smashing it week in, week out. That's not what's happening. But the process has to start from somewhere. Yeah. And, it looks like it's starting to tick. Last few weeks, even prior to the Tottenham game, where he really came out of his shell, he was playing well, playing decent. And, the Tottenham game happened and he took it to a slightly other level. And then since then, he's just been, rising. And it's nice to see. Now, we have to let it play out. We can't now just say, oh, that's it. He's, going to turn into flipping Chelsea's best ever striker. No. But equally, you can't say, this is just a blip. He's going to get worse again. You can't say that. The reality is, look, yes, he didn't start off very well, or he started off well, dipped, went, quite bad, missed loads of chances.
I think he didn't score for 14 games or something, so this is not a joke. 14. I didn't do a rant for no reason.
1,000 minutes.
I remember that time. It was dark days. I wanted him to be on the bench for good reason. And like I said, it was partly Lampard's fault. But it was wild, bro. It was a wild time. And if we're doing player of the season shouts, you have to be good for the whole season. So,
absolutely.
Let's continue.
Absolutely. And I think, that's, part of the reason why I think now we just need to look at Timo. He's doing better. He's playing better. He's scored now. He's contributing. He's doing everything that we were, asking him to do prior to him doing what he's doing now. So now we just need to as you said, put the handbrake down and let it ride. It's as simple as that. Let's just see where it goes. And hopefully he ends the season on a high. Now, at the end of the season, we'll evaluate and we'll see exactly what he's done. And if next season he's got a lot to improve on, or if he's on the right track. But the only way we're going to get our answer is by seeing what happens. That's it. So we can't make a premature judgment of what we expect, what we think is going to happen, or, he's going to be this, or he's going to be that, or he's going to be crap. No, we'll wait and see. And, but the crucial thing I want to say is that he's getting better. It looks like he's on the right track. So let's just keep him on that right track. And that's it.
100%. I'm looking forward to him. He should start definitely against Southampton. I think that maybe that.
Oh yeah.
If anything, the oppositions that we've just come up against, I was more worried for him because I knew they were going to be low blocks, but obviously Tuchel's a little bit more experienced and established, a lot more, and he obviously is able to get him working in more facets of situations and different styles of play and oppositions and whatnot. So that's great. Now Southampton, they might come onto us a bit more. He might have space. I'm really looking forward to him playing. I think he has to play in the same position. I don't want to see him. I mean, I was a big believer when he was playing left wing, not to say that he should play up front, and it will just change everything. And I think where he's playing now is a nice, happy medium. It suits him. He is a player that does get involved in the build-up, but don't overcomplicate it for him in a respect of making him have to, 1v1 dribble. I think if he can give it and go and literally get on his bike and get him behind that striker. And this is where Kai Havertz comes into it. And I want to talk to you guys about it. Me and Yannick had a similar theory on the timeline, and I kind of want to see. I don't know where Kai Havertz is with his fitness right now. I'm very confused, but I would like to see him if he's available in the coming games. Maybe not Atletico, because Atletico is maybe it's a bit much to ask from him on that type of stage. But in the Premier League, I'd like to see Kai Havertz play the striker role in this formation with Timo just behind him, because it's not like he's isolated, because you've got, and this is really, Tammy's injured, so this is where it comes into, but the two 10s, if it's Mount and Timo, for instance, because they're both very energetic and they're not going to leave a person isolated, Kai's not going to be isolated. He's going to have two people very close to him. One that he's got a great chemistry with Germany. Mount, who I think can link up with anyone, because he's just got the willingness to, he will force it. He'll force the link up regardless. And I think Kai's got a good blend of everything without being outstanding at anything in respects that his heading ability is not outstanding, but it's at a good level where you'd say if crosses come in, there's a good chance that it could be a good opportunity for him to score. His finishing this season, he's not exactly setting it alight, but it's of a good level. He's got pace, and he should have link-up play as well because of the position that he plays when he's deeper in midfield. He's a midfielder. He's attacking midfielder, so that should come with link-up. The only small issue that I'd have with him is his strength of shielding the ball and holding off players when he receives it. I'd worry that he might get bodied. But apart from that, I think Kai up front could be a way to go. It could be a good way to get something out of him. What do you think, Miz?
Yeah, no, I had Zach Lowy yesterday in my channel, and we were talking about this. 3 players. We were talking about how to get the best out of Ziyech, Pulisic, and Kai Havertz. And we got deep into it, and the summary of that conversation was that Pulisic is probably in the direct competition with Timo Werner for that inside forward. So this is all dependent on if we play with the whole 3-2 sort of 3-1 situation or 4-1, whatever it is. Basically 5 defenders, 5 attackers. So, having the 2 10s and a striker, that's the formation. So Timo Werner is probably in the direct competition with Pulisic. Ziyech is probably in the direct competition with Mason Mount. And Kai Havertz is probably in the direct competition with Tammy Abraham. So we were also agreeing the fact that it would probably be wise to see Kai Havertz playing as a false 9 sort of player that drops deep, kind of like what Firmino does for Liverpool, helps out in defense, allowing the likes of Mason Mount and Timo Werner attack the half spaces, much like what Salah and Mane does for Liverpool. Someone like Kai Havertz just goes up and down through the middle, and he can do that. So for me, that would be a very, very good position for him. 1, as you said, his aerial abilities in the box, and 2, his midfield sort of qualities in terms of control, passing abilities will come into play. And hopefully he doesn't have to, in that position, as you said, Matisse, hopefully he doesn't get bodied too much, because you're not going to be, you're not going to have your back against the defenders all the time to shield the ball. You're going to be mobile coming up and down the channel, and you're going to try and sneak inside the box whenever either the wing backs or the inside forwards make the play. So for me, Kai Havertz, I think Thomas Tuchel in the background is working on something with Kai Havertz. Yes, I think he's got some sort of injury issue for sure, but I reckon there's 2 players Thomas Tuchel is probably working on, is Ziyech and Kai Havertz, and that's why we're probably not seeing a lot of them, because tactically he's trying to tactically and in the training he's trying to figure out, how do I get the best out of these players in the formation that I'm playing right now? Because it's very different to what they used to play previously in Leverkusen and Ajax. So I've been saying it. We just need to be patient. We're going to see the best of these players very soon. And we're going to have to, because this Southampton game, don't be surprised if we see a lot of rotation, actually, because we've got the Atletico Madrid game literally 2.5 days later. So yeah, we could possibly see the likes of Ziyech and Pulisic perhaps starting against Southampton, because I can't see them starting against Atletico Madrid. You'll probably see, your Mason Mount, your Callum Hudson-Odoi, Thiago Silva will probably be back. So, the regular sort of 11 that generally plays, some rotation will happen against Southampton. And I don't know whether Kai Havertz is going to be fit. Some are saying that he should be fit. And if he is, I would like to see him start against Southampton.
So, son of Chelsea in the chat, just put in another message there, because I've made you mod. So let's see if you're real. So yeah, I mean, in terms of Ziyech, I mean, look, it's going to be pivotal for Tuchel to get the best out of Kai Havertz and Timo Werner. He's getting the best out of Timo Werner right now, which is great, and I think he's going to continue to kick on. And I think me and Savage Dan spoke about these size 2 footballs. Hopefully, because I think Timo Werner's now just confidence and being clinical, and also on top of first touch away from being, okay, we have a really great player there and we should be able to get goals out of him, and this is a good opportunity to get a good attacking outlet going. And he might not be the focal point, but that's also maybe a good thing that we don't have. He's not an out-and-out striker, but he's going to contribute so many goals and so many goal involvements when he's at his best under Tuchel. So that's really exciting to see. And also brilliant to see that's the real son of Chelsea, because I was getting worried because there's just been so many fakes. I've got PTSD. There's been so many fakes. I'm worried. So yeah, big up son of Chelsea in the chat. Now we can highlight him. I've been traumatized, 100%. Someone just said that in the chat. I've been traumatized. Big up son of Chelsea. Big up Daniel. So yeah, man. But in terms of Kai and Timo, so he's getting there with Timo very quickly, and I think Kai was always going to take a bit longer. But potentially this could be a role for him. And do you know what I like about Kai is that he naturally will want to go to the right. Average position heat map at Leverkusen was in that right channel. And that's whether it's right-sided mid or right attacking mid or right wing or striker. He always wanted to drift over there. And Timo Werner always wants to drift over there. And it's very similar for Germany. So it very quickly can turn into a 2 up front, or it can turn into a 1 up front. Like, they're all very interchangeable, if you see what I mean. Obviously, Mason Mount, we know he likes to take up those right channel spots. I think it's very underplayed and underspoken about just how good Mount can be. I mean, he wasn't the greatest last game. He still needs to work on his conversion like he did against Sheffield United with the goal. But in the right channel, he does have some really good moments where he will cut in and get dangerous in the penalty area. So it's a very interchangeable front three. Bringing Pulisic into that, when Pulisic's at his best, we know he's very good. I think at the moment, everyone's disappointed with decision-making, which is fair. I think his decision-making at the back end of last season was brilliant. It was incredible. I remember that goal against Liverpool for Tammy Abraham, weaved through everyone, then had the awareness to slot it across the box, and it was a tap-in. So he has got it. It's just not consistent, maybe due to his age, or, he needs to get that back. So I'm not giving up on Pulisic yet. I'm a long way from doing that. I've seen what he can do. And Ziyech, I mean, I don't know what you guys think about Ziyech. I know, Miz, you're a big fan of Ziyech, but someone asked earlier, does he fit into the Tuchel team? It's very difficult to answer that because we haven't seen Tuchel give us all of his variety of formations. And I say get them to learn this one first before I give you the next level and the next level. Like, master this one, and then I'll talk to you later about something else. You know what I mean? But do you worry about Ziyech in any way? Because I know you're a big advocate of Ziyech.
You know what? A little bit. I mean, I believe in the player's quality. I believe he's superb, and he's another one of those guys that he's got top mentality. He's got the attitude of a winner. So the confidence is not going to be an issue. He's going to come out of it better. But I just find it very difficult at the moment. Someone like Mason Mount is going to be a proper competition for him. As much as we can sort of sit here and say Mason still doesn't produce enough goals and assists and key plays, and that, that sort of really take over the match by himself, the kind of player that we've been talking about, right? But Mason gives a lot of stuff in the game that many don't want to talk about, especially in Twitter. You don't get to talk about that kind of stuff. The way he carries himself in the match, his energy, his intensity. Right now, it's very, very difficult to take Mason away from the team. And I feel Ziyech, his biggest competition is Mason Mount, because Ziyech is not going to play on the left side where Timo is playing. And Ziyech is not going to play as a striker. Ziyech is not going to play as a wing-back. Ziyech is not going to play in the pivot. Ziyech he's only got one spot, and that's Mason Mount's spot. And right now, Mason is not giving that away. So how long that lasts is going to be very, very interesting. I'm starting to believe a little bit of that conversation recently that came out that Ziyech, not be happy, da-di-da-di-da, and all that. But we'll see what happens. I mean, Thomas Tuchel is a master of, making sure, we've already seen, ensuring that everyone gets the right amount of time, the right amount of minutes, and he utilizes the whole squad. Does Ziyech want to be a squad player, someone who just plays every alternate game, or Ziyech wants to be a leader who wants to play every game and impose himself, and he wants to be known as Hakim Ziyech FC? Do you know what I mean? So that's where it comes down to, man. I think his personality, I think, might be something of a concern. We talked about previously under Frank Lampard how some of the fringe players started to cause a bit of trouble and how they weren't getting enough minutes. As much as I love Ziyech and I love him so much, I can't wait to get his jersey. I think Ziyech is going to be one of those players. If we start seeing him getting enough minutes, he may be the very first one to start being one of those fringe players causing trouble, that he wants minutes. And that is very understandable because, he's a high quality player, but Mason Mount's his biggest competition. And I don't know how Mason gives that up. Yeah.
Someone said here, Hakim Ziyech and so on, like these guys aren't nothing players. They're creative and just need time to get to the intensity of the league. I'm a little bit harsher on Ziyech just because he's older. But at the same time, I always say you need 1 year in the Premier League minimum. And the reason why I'll then tone that down is because he's had a lot of injuries as well. He spoke about it. He had an injury before he even got his first opportunity to play. He was injured. And then he had another injury. And then next thing you know, it's a change of management. So it's not been a very easy season for Hakim Ziyech. So I do sympathise with him heavily there. He's had 2 injuries to deal with. And I would hope that he would stay for the second season because, like I said, when he signed, I would love nothing more than to be, proven wrong about purchasing him. I would love for him to come in and light the place up. I want to see that long-range goal that he scored against Valencia for Ajax. I want to see the wizard. I want to see all these things. We've seen glimpses, but of course, injuries and so on, we haven't seen enough of it or a lot of it this season. So I'd hope that he would want to have the mentality to stay here for the second season and kick on. And I don't know how concrete those reports are, so I don't entertain or go on with gossip and garbage news traditionally. But you spoke about his personality. He is a player that's always been used to being the main man, the key man. At Ajax, he was the main man. And yes, you have Tadic and other players playing off of him, but he's used to being the main guy. He's used to having the most touches. Very much like Kai Havertz. They're 2 showmans in the same team. And it's not, I want our attack to have balance, so I'm happy about that. But at the same time, does it suit these players to be fringe players or not even be fringe, but be in rotation? Or does it suit them to, some players need to be playing every single game back to back to get the best out of them. They need to be having the most touches on the pitch. They need to feel like they're the main man and have that responsibility. And if you take that away from Hakim Ziyech, what happens? Is he still as effective if he's playing half the games or 2/3 of the games? If he's having, less touches on a football pitch, what's Hakim Ziyech then like then? That's the question. Son of Chelsea says, Tuchel is asking his focal strikers to drop deeper and it's clearly wanting them to play in between the lines, have those 3 forwards interchange quickly. And I think it can work. And I completely agree because Kai Havertz should be able to drop deep. He should be able to have a better first touch. He should be able to do good link-up play. He should be able to play in between the lines. That is his position anyway. So you're just sticking him at the top of the Christmas tree, so to speak, and rolling with it. But back onto Mason Mount very quickly as well. The reason why I'm hesitant to take him out is not because I'm a Mason Mount fanboy, and I think everybody should know that at this point anyway. It's not like as if you wouldn't get most of your propaganda here. You know what I'm saying? It would come elsewhere. I love the player, but I like loads of players. You know what I mean? I don't really rep anyone, to be honest. Recently, you might say Hudson-Odoi might be the outlier. He might be the one that I'm going home on. But the reason why I'd be worried about taking Mason Mount out is because, of course, his end product needs to go up because of the position he's playing in. Me and Dami spoke about this, where if you're playing in the 10 or the second striker, fake 10, whatever you want to call it, you do need to get involved with the goals more. So that's obviously something he's working on. He spoke about it after Tottenham scored against Sheffield. He's not going to be consistent. He's young. And it's very hard for me to be hard on him when we have more experienced players not consistent as well in the attacking positions. But defensively, you've got Jorginho and Kova. Mason Mount is the one guy that's not like Pulisic, not like Ziyech, not like Werner, who can drop into the 3 defensively on transition and make it even more solid. And especially when you're playing with wing-backs and Alonso and Hudson-Odoi, they are going to get forward. We've seen it at times. It's like they're playing as wingers, like right up the pitch. It's like 5 up there. And then you build from the back and you've pushed your opposition fullbacks way back, and that's the way you're going with it. If we take Mason Mount out of that team, you're losing a defender because he will get back into position. He will cover the space and take up those zones. And does a natural attacking midfielder do that? You don't know. And you don't have Kante in there. You're going with Jorginho and Kova, who, let's be honest, in transition are a bit slower. they've been great so far. But if you take away, I remember that Ajax game away from home, we had Mason Mount playing with Georgie and Kova. Georgie and Kova were great. The back three were great. But I think Mason Mount is underestimated in that midfield for the balance of switching between, playing in between the lines as a 10 and taking the ball and being able to turn with it and then do your thing, but also getting back into the 3, being defensive. What do you guys think?
I was just going to quickly say before we go to Younes, Rudiger just recently came out and said something really, really nice about Mason Mount. And he said that Mason is the first one to defend from the top. So we talk about how he drops and helps out in defense. I think we forget the fact that he actually defends from the front. As soon as we lose the ball, he's there hustling and trying to win the ball back straight away. So, we don't have that many players that do that as well as Mason does. And the team knows his value. We as I said in social media, probably don't know the true value of Mason Mount, but the team knows what he gives defending from front. We think about, let the defenders defend. No, it starts from the beginning. Defenders are the last block of players to defend. So, I just wanted to put that out there. Go on, Younes.
Yeah, no, with Mason, I think he's misunderstood a lot. But I do think, and I want to say this, which I think is key. Under Lampard, we saw that, well, personally, my view, it looked like Mason was the one that was relied on to press, the one that was relied on to go and, when we're not in possession, he's the first man to go and try and win the ball. Whereas now, it looks like we're seeing a collective effort. There's not just a one-man press going on. There's a collective press going on. And Mason Mount, with what we know can do, now with the assist of many others around him, can only amplify his game even more. I think since Thomas Tuchel's come in, he's been class. He's been class. He's been everywhere. I think he's had more license to go and try and destroy everywhere. Plus, on the ball, we've seen him get into half spaces that he really wouldn't go into before. We've seen him combine with players in a manner that we didn't really see before. And we've seen him go a little bit more offensive compared to before, where, there was the whole thing of him being a traditional 8, box to box, onto the edge of the area, and that's it. Whereas now I think he's got more license to combine with other players, get into more forward positions, and the same goes for others in terms of them figuring a solution out for themselves in that moment. So no, Mason Mount I think is not a concern at all, and I'm happy that he's playing the way he's playing. I want to bring a little bit of realism though, because let's say even if Ziyech was playing really well, Havertz is playing really well. Let's have it right. We've got Timo Werner. I'm going to stick Timo Werner in this because he's a forward man. But Timo Werner, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Pulisic, Ziyech, Mason Mount, Kai Havertz. They're not all going to play at the same time. It's impossible. Yeah. It's impossible. You're going to have maybe a couple of them always on the bench. No matter who it is, there's going to be some of them on the bench. You cannot get all of them on the pitch at the same time. So regardless of who is on the pitch and who isn't, you have to understand that point. Because if you're expecting one player to play all the time, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Go for it.
No, when it comes to Ziyech, when it comes to Havertz, I want to give that time. Because I do think there's an element of them both needing to adapt physically to the Premier League. I don't think it's anything to do with their ability. I think physically they need to adapt. I think Ziyech needs to get stronger. I think he needs to get quicker, more powerful. I think Havertz needs to get more stronger. And they've both had injury concerns. Havertz a lot more. And I want to cut a little bit of slack on Kai Havertz because he hasn't been out by choice. He hasn't been out because he's been playing bad. He's been out because he's injured. So let's give him the opportunity to have a run of form, to have a run of games and see what he can do. But I truly think with those two, we're going to get the best next season. And I think Tuchel will implement to all the names that I just mentioned that it's not going to be a guarantee that all of them play all the time. There will be rotation. There will be players that you'd think don't deserve to be on the bench, having to be on the bench, because as I said, you can't get all those 6 players on the pitch at the same time. It's not going to happen. Did I even say Pulisic? Did I miss out Pulisic?
Yeah, you did.
You missed that Pulisic.
I missed out Pulisic as well. So, honestly, 7, you're not going to get all of them on the pitch at the same time. So, we have to be prepared.
Just quickly as well, Younes, on that. Sorry, Matthias, just quickly to interject there. this is even more important why a manager like Thomas Tuchel, you look at Pep Guardiola, Mahrez comes off the bench. Do you know what I mean? Bernardo Silva comes off the bench. These guys are superstar players that will probably start for any other Premier League team. I'm telling you right now, they'll probably start for any other team. So this is where Thomas Tuchel's experience comes into play to make some of these players believe and still be motivated and still be engaged in the club and make them understand that you may not play all the time. It's what you said, Younes. It's not possible to play Pulisic, Kai Havertz, Mason Mount, Timo Werner, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Ziyech, all at once. You cannot do that. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I just hope that Thomas Tuchel has the same sort of ability as Pep Guardiola has had. I mean, can you imagine, boys, someone like Mahrez, he probably thinks I should be playing week in, week out, but he doesn't. But he's still happy. Do you know what I mean? Bernardo Silva,
I can firsthand say a lot of our juniors are peed off with that, just to let you know.
Chelsea are not welcome in Nigeria. Thank you. But do you know what? Yeah, I feel like, and maybe I'm calling it too early or too late, but I feel a very similar vibe of the way Jorginho used to be treated when Sarri left. And I feel that with Mason Mount since Frank's left. And there's a section of social media that always are waiting for him to have a bad game for him to be taken out of the team. And I don't see this with any other youngster. And I feel like people are still connecting him to Frank too much and not isolating him as a player and just judging him for what he is. And what I mean by that is if any other 22-year-old was to be our top 3 players this season consistently, created, I don't know, the most chances up there with Kevin De Bruyne, Bruno Fernandes, Grealish, in a list for the most tackles, and the only other people in that list are defenders. Yeah, those are the 2 stats that, thank you, Robin, has just brought to me. I did know of them, but I just wanted someone to say it in the chat so I could put it in there. Someone that is doing both sides of the game so balanced, in such a balanced way at 22 years old. Would we be so fast to take them out of the team if Pulisic was doing that? If Hudson-Odoi was, Hudson-Odoi's in good form anyway. If any other young player was doing that, would we be so fast to take them out the team for Ziyech, for Kai? I'm not in a rush to see Kai or Ziyech in the starting 11 because my main objective is 3 points, and I want these guys to improve, and I think they will. But I think, again, as fans, we always seem to get it in our head that if they're not on the pitch, they can't be improving. They are training with a manager that can improve players. You guys have just stated that. So just because you don't see them on the pitch, it doesn't mean progress is not being made. And you will see the best of them at some point, hopefully. I'm quite confident of that, either towards the end of the season or next season. But I don't understand this need and want to take Mason out the team. I feel like it's just bad cop, good cop, with people just trying to push the, we need to rotate, we need to take him out the team. I don't want to see him every week. But why don't you want to see him every week? What is the actual reason behind it? Because you can see that he might not be, he's not a player that's, world class. He's not a player that can produce in one area to a ridiculous level in terms of goals, in terms of assists, in terms of whatever you're looking for in a midfielder. But it's very clear to see at 22 years old that his game is very balanced. It's very clear to see at 22 years old that he understands tactically where to be on the pitch and tactically what instructions to take. He's been under 2 managers now, and Tuchel, after dropping him for the first game, because he only had 24 hours, has put him into the lineup immediately. If you rate Tuchel so highly, and he rates Mason Mount quite evidently, what does that say? I'm not saying anything.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying anything. Just go and think about that. Because like I said, I'm not a fanboy of Mason Mount. I like him just as much as I like the other players. I have favorites like everyone does, but to be honest, I'm so inconsistent. I change my favorites every week because I just fall in love with different players whenever. So that's just how I am. My favorite could be Reece James, Billy Gilmore, Hudson-Odoi, whatever. But I don't stand anyone. I don't particularly care about that kind of stuff. But I don't get this incessant. I don't get this need for one man to be out the team so much. I don't get it, especially when he's been one of our best players this season. Maybe you guys can explain it to me. I personally don't get it. I don't want to see him overused, overrun. I don't ever want to see him used like how Frank Lampard used him again. And not in terms of Frank Lampard using him out of position. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you're just killing him. Like every single game we've got, you know what I mean? You're not letting him rest. Cup games, like you're just overdoing it now. For me, you still need to rest him. You still need to look after him 100%. Don't take the piss with his durability, because then maybe at the end of his career, you might not get the same durability and we may have shorten him. But yeah, that's just where I stand. What do you guys think?
With Mount, and you asked a little bit earlier on in that speech in regards to why do fans wait for him to fail? What's the real problem that they have with Mount? Yeah, I genuinely believe, and I had a portion of this at the time. It came with, why is he being picked every single game? And that was under Frank. I'm stressing, this isn't Tuchel, this is Frank, okay? He was heavily relied on. And you could see the frustration in many fans going, this guy's just not getting out of the team. He's just not getting out of the team. And I understood as to, why some fans would be frustrated at the time. However, since Thomas Tuchel's come in, right, I think there's been a lot of people that have been waiting for him to fail because Lampard's not at Chelsea anymore. And because, his dad has left, that he's going to collapse and he's just going to turn to absolute crap. And once Tuchel came in and, as you said, rested him for one game, brought him back into the game, into his setup afterwards, he's been class. He's been class. So now that doubt of, he was only playing just because Lampard was there and Lampard wanted to pick him every single game, that's not the case now. That's not the case now. Now it's clear that no matter who the manager is, he's playing well. So now I'm definitely a lot more lenient with the fact that Mount's in the team. He deserves to be in the team. He's playing brilliant. It's as simple as that. And he is versatile and he can play under different managers. And we know that it's not just a case of, him being picked because Lampard was there. I understand the frustration that was there at the time because he just was not getting out of the team. And I share your sentiment. He needs to be used correctly. He is still a young player that's coming to the top of his game, and you can't just, play him and drill him every single game. No, you're going to kill him. Absolutely. And that was the concern of many fans under Frank Lampard, because there was just no way he was getting out of the team. There was no way he was getting rested. It just wasn't happening. Now with Tuchel, I think it's clear that he will, like against Newcastle. Was it Newcastle the game before? He came off at like 67 minutes or something.
Newcastle. It was
Newcastle, wasn't it? Yeah. That wouldn't have happened under Lampard. I don't think anyway. I wouldn't have happened. So as long as he's used correctly, I've got no problem with mounting the team, because he's proven that he can play under different managers and he does have a lot of attributes to his game, and he can be a big, reason as to why Chelsea might be playing well. So that's it. I think now we have to really just put the Lampard chapter behind us, and just that's irrelevant now.
Yeah, so. Young Dizzy says, but you said we need goals. We definitely need goals, but who's to say Pulisic in this form, Ziyech in this form, Havertz is more likely to score? I don't think so. I think they're all just as likely to score as each other. Mount scored against Sheffield United, and then against Newcastle, his finishing wasn't so good. That's inconsistent, but he still can be a goal threat. He's the only player really that I've seen that wants to shoot from distance. I've been crying out for it all season.
Yeah.
Ziyech, whoever it is, no one wants to shoot from distance but Mason Mount. I know Kai Havertz doesn't want to shoot from distance at the moment. So I've seen he can take free kicks. Everybody says set piece tax. That's one of the comments. I mean, call it what you want, but I'd rather him get assists from set pieces than not. I think a fan base that has had to tolerate Willian taking corners should be a little bit more appreciative of Mason Mount taking corners. We talk about Zuma being one of our top scorers. That doesn't happen if Mason Mount doesn't put the ball into the box correctly. So I think, again, if you're a fan base that have had to tolerate Willian taking corners for years on years, complaining about Mason Mount getting assists from corners seems like a contradiction. It seems stupid. And it seems to come from a place of now you just don't like the player. And if you don't like the player or you don't like the person, just say it. Because I'd rather just debate with someone, or I wouldn't debate then. I would just say, cool, there's no point. Because there's no logic behind it. Because if Eden Hazard was taking the corners, you wouldn't be complaining. Let's just be real. You wouldn't be. You wouldn't be saying Eden Hazard is stat padding on corners. You'd be saying brilliant set piece taker. So let's get rid of those stupid narratives, man. Because, like I said, if you dislike the person, just say it as it is. It doesn't what you're complaining about or what you're saying doesn't make any sense when we've had to tolerate poor set pieces for so long. And like I said, if Mason Mount was playing poorly this season, I'd be the first person to tell you take him out of the team immediately. I don't care. I honestly don't care. I just want to win football games. But he has been very good this season. I think he's been great. When he's been playing in the 8 role, he's improved drastically. He's been, much better with in terms of the way that he gets on the ball. He's taken more responsibility. He's shown leadership. He's taken the captain's armband in one of the games as well. So of course there's places to improve, but Pulisic is not having a good season at all. And we have to also respect what can be done on the training pitch. I don't think throwing these guys in to high pressure games when we need to win to get top 4, which is the main objective, by the way, not to get our favorite players in form, but to get top 4. If we don't get top 4, but someone who's repping a player does well, I couldn't give a shit. We need to get top 4. We spent most of this show, which we're about to wrap up now because I have to go on Rance's channel at 1, and I'm sure the boys are tired as well. We spent most of this show speaking about Erling Haaland. You can't speak about Erling Haaland with no Champions League football. So let's secure that first, and then we can deal with our favourite players in pre-season when they have time to train under a new manager and get them into form. Final thoughts from you, Miz, and let people know where to find you as well, bro.
Just quickly on that Mason Mount thing. If you ask Thomas Tuchel to do the, just to lay down the starting 11, I'm telling you, Mount, Callum Hudson-Odoi, probably Thiago Silva, they'll be the very first few names that he puts down. You're not going to hear Pulisic and Havertz and Ziyech, as much as we like them. Tuchel really, really understands the value of Mason Mount, and I'm pretty sure very, very soon we're going to see a lot more goals and a lot more assists from Mason Mount, because he's now, I think what Frank gave Mason was, he gave him the belief that you're going to be a top footballer. But I think and I could be wrong here, but I think where Frank might have lacked is that technical sort of ability, that it's not just about running. It's about being very smart, when to run, when to pass, and I think Tuchel will do that. Tuchel will give him all of those ingredients. Frank made him believe that he could be the best midfielder. Tuchel will probably make him one of the best midfielders. So we're going to see that. And it's not an easy feat to put someone like Ziyech, who's fit, and be in the bench because Mason's in fine form. So that's a little bit about that, guys. In regards to me, I've got the boys from Match Vlog Days. They're the Southampton guys. They've got the YouTube channel, and I've got them tomorrow, UK 7 p.m. with a bunch of other Chelsea fans. So we're doing the preview with them. So do tune in on that, on the other side of the coin, as you can see. So that's where I'm at. Next up.
And just to respond quickly before we go to Younes as well, because obviously you guys will not know where to find Younes. We have to make sure you... Mason here says no open play assists. I don't know if that's correct yet. I don't know stats off by heart. I always have to check them.
No, I don't think so. That's not right.
I don't think that's correct. Yeah, I don't think that's correct. Champions League,
Callum Hudson-Odoi.
Yeah, but exactly. So that's one already stated against Rennes. However, even if it was correct, I remember trying to explain to fans that Jorginho might not have any assists in open play, but look at the chances that Higuain's missing. Well, I want you to hold the energy for Mason Mount. Look at that game against Leicester. Oh, sorry, not Leicester, against Leeds. Left-footed pass across the whole defence, split open. Timo Werner on the end of it, doesn't finish. That's one example. I don't have time to go through all of the examples. But if you're going to be one way about one player, be consistent with the other player. That's all I'm saying. So
he's had the most key passes in open play, if I'm not mistaken. He's had the most. It's just.
And I know if that was Jorginho, I would have to.
We're not clinical enough. If we were clinical, he'd have the most assists.
And we know this team has not been clinical. We know that no striker, Tammy Abraham's the top scorer, but we know we've had issues with goals. You know this, so don't. We're not stupid on this stream. Don't do this, people. Okay, don't do this. Let's be consistent. We're not stupid on this stream. I'm not going to play these games. We're not going to just look at stats and either use them to our advantage for our agenda or use them to our disadvantage. Look beyond the stats. Judge what you're seeing. He has made key passes. He has set up chances. They have not been taken. Can he improve? Yes, he can. He's 22. But you're not going to tell me he has no open play assist, and then we're just going to end the conversation there. Younes, where can they find you?
Well, as you know, clearly stated, here it is right below. You can see Younes Talks Football. Yeah, I truly think if we're looking outside the box and we're going to wrap it up, let's see. Let's just be, patient to the end of the season to see what's going to happen. What track are we on? What results are we going to get? How players are going to improve? Tuchel's only been here for 3 weeks, so we got to be understanding in that case that he needs, to the end of the season, see what we achieve, then into preseason, and then we go again next season, hopefully with good ambition and hopefully with a big task at hand to try and get some silverware. If we don't get it this season, that is, you never know. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, you can find me at Younes Talks Football on Twitter at YounesHH, and let's see what goes on against Southampton and then on to Atletico.
Love that. And people, make sure you subscribe as well to both the channels. The names are right there. Subscribe to this channel as well. We got the preview with the preview gang, Mawal from Stoppage Time TV, and also Sam from Football Daily. That's tomorrow at 6, I believe. So I'm going to put that nice and early. So I know notifications are not working great, but I'm going to put that up early, set up the stream so you guys can see what time it starts, and you can use your own memory because YouTube are trying to shag you. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, if you want to see more of me, I'm literally heading on to Ransom's stream in like 1 minute. And I'm sure I'm going to have to stick up for Mason Mount there if I have to, but I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? In fact, Man United are not in good form right now, so I might be having some fun. I'm going to get stuck in. You know what I'm saying?
Threaten them.
Stuck in. So,
threaten them. Plant the seed that we're going to go above them at some point. Plant the seed.
So I'll see you guys later. Thanks for joining us. Check out the links in the description for both the channels, for both the boys. And I'll see you guys in a bit. Peace.